Hey everyone, today we'll be looking at League of Legends' newest champion, Hwei the Visionary. Hwei's background is a painter, haunted by the loss of his island temple and twisted vision related to Jin. He uses art to confront criminals and comfort victims in Ionia. Hwei is our newest addition to the mage roster. He is a mid laner who specializes in artillery and crowd control. Oh yeah, and a quick warning before we get into his abilities rundown, he is a very complex champion with a lot of abilities, so feel free to pause or rewind the video, as I won't be taking too much time talking about every spell. This character's playstyle is very team-oriented. His skit is all about combining the right spells together in order to trade effectively, as well as setting up play-making opportunities. Now let's look at his ability rundown. Passive. Signature of Visionary. Hwei's damaging abilities mark enemies which can be procced with other spells to deal extra damage. Hwei is the first champion in the game to have 10 unique spells. His basic abilities, Q, W, and E, are spellbooks that can be opened containing each 3 unique spells that share the same cooldown within the spellbook. Using R while opening a spellbook clears his paintbrush and returns to his basic abilities. Spellbooks have their own name and specialization: Disaster for damage, Serenity for utility, and Torment for control. Now let's start with the first spellbook, Disaster. Devastating Fire. Hwei lends a blazing fireball, dealing damage and percentage max health damage to all enemies in the area. Severing Bolt. Hwei paints a long-range bolt, dealing damage after delay. Immobilized or isolated enemies take increased damage based on missing health. Molten Fissure. Hwei paints a field of lava, slowing enemies and dealing damage per second in the area. Now moving to Serenity. Bleeding Current. Hwei paints a current of water, granting movement speeds to allies and himself for a few seconds. Pool of Reflection. Hwei forms a pool at a location, lasting for a few seconds. Allies inside the area get a shield. Steering Lights. Hwei paints 3 lights around him. His next 3 attacks or spells deal bonus damage and grant mana on hit. Lastly, Torment. Grim Visage. Hwei launches a scary face that deals damage and fears the first enemy hit. Gaze of the Abyss. Hwei paints an eye at the target location, granting vision and locks onto the nearest visible champion. After a delay, the eye fires at the locked-on champion, dealing damage and rooting them. Crushing Maw. Hwei paints jaws on the floor, dealing damage to enemies hit and pulls them towards the center, slowing them. And finally, his ultimate, Spiraling Despair. Hwei launches an attack that sticks to an enemy champion for a few seconds. The attack expands, dealing damage to enemies in the area per second. Enemies within the zone are granted stacks of despair over time. Each stack applies a stacking percent slow. Upon completion, the spell shatters, dealing massive damage. With how many options he has in his kit, Hwei takes the crown on being the most versatile champion in League of Legends. Players who manage to master him will be heavily rewarded, as his skill ceiling is very high. If you managed to watch until this point, tell me which ability looks the coolest to you. Make sure to watch my live streams, as I will be playing this character on PBE once he's out. Thanks for watching. Now, I'll be leaving you guys with some of the combo footage of Hwei.